Alright guys, another video today. I know, back-to-back videos is crazy. What's going on here? But today I wanted to do a quick video talking about Linked Turbolaser Towers, LTTs. This is, or has been, since it came out, an incredibly ubiquitous upgrade out there. It's on a ton of different ships. When you have a ship that can take a turbolaser slot, unless you've got a really good reason to take something else, you're probably taking LTTs or you're leaving it empty. And why is that? That's kind of what I want to get into today. So for those of you who are new, this could be a good educational video about how to use LTTs, why they're so popular, and for experienced players, maybe it jogs something you hadn't thought of before, or just reaffirms something you already believed, or you vehemently disagree with me, in which case feel free to comment that. But LTTs, I'm going to go over the basics first and talk about why it's good and then what kind of lists it's used in. 7-point upgrade in the turbolaser slot. First effect is always active. That's something that people don't always remember. It is always active. You may reroll one red die in your attack pool. That's on any attack. That is when you are shooting out of a normal hull zone. That is a salvo attack. That is an anti-squad attack if you've got red dice. You can always reroll one red die. You can do that at any time you're shooting. A second half then is where it gets a little trickier. While attacking the first squadron during your activation, you may add 2 dice of any color to your attack pool. If you do, you cannot declare additional squadron targets for this attack. So there's a couple parts of this. Firstly, it has to be the very first squadron you're attacking on your activation. So if you're in a situation where you have squads in your side arc and your front arc, if you flak out the side first, you roll your initial flak pool, let's say it's an assault frigate, like 2 blue, and then right then you decide if you're going to do the second part of the LTT effect or not. If you add the 2 dice then you cannot declare additional squadron targets out of that hull zone. You can still attack out of your front, you can still flak out of your front, but you can't attack again out the side at the rest of the squads there, and you can't then add more dice with LTTs to subsequent squad attacks that turn. If you do not roll the 2 additional dice on the very first squad you attack during the activation, you can't then do that later in the flacking squads. You have at that point surrendered your opportunity to do so. So just as a quick example, let's say you have 3 TIE fighters in your side arc and 3 in your front arc. Out the side, you roll a hit on your very first shot against one of the TIE fighters. You can then either add 2 dice, normally black dice, and try to nuke it, or you can decide, you know what, I would like to flak the rest of the things in my side arc. So that sometimes gets people a little tripped up. The other thing, and it's this little bit right here, 2 dice of any color. They have to be the same color. If it said you can add 2 dice of any colors, with an S, plural, then you could add like a black and a blue. But with LTTs, since it's just color singular, you have to add 2 dice of the same color. I don't know if they've errated or changed anything with that, but as far as I understand it, as far as the card leads me to believe, it's 2 dice, any 2 dice of one color. So you're adding 2 blacks or 2 blues or 2 reds. You're not mixing and matching. Now, couple ways to use LTTs. Number one, it's always nice to have. Some ships can't really take a reroll tech that they need. Rebels kind of struggle to reroll red dice without, basically your 2 options are Caitlin and Shyvalry, and that's only on 1 ship, or leading shots, which not a lot of ships can take that, and it's not always best in slot. There's not really a whole lot of other ways to reroll dice, and so LTTs are very good for that. It's also a great tech if you are running A, squadron light, B, squad less, or C, you just need to support your squads with a little more oomph. It's a very good card for nuking squads out of the sky. I can't tell you how many times in my assault frigate that I've got the 2 blue naturally, I roll those, I get like an accuracy and a hit, and I've got a scatter ace on 2 health. I'm like, heck yeah, I'm going to roll 2 more blacks and totally knock you out here. So it's very effective and sometimes a bit more burst damage than your opponent expects. You've got a confire dial too. You can be potentially rolling 5 dice against a single squad. So there's always that give and take of, do you want to flak everything or flak one thing, that kind of stuff. And that takes some learning of when it's appropriate to do that versus where it's probably just best to flak everything. But the ubiquity of the card mainly comes from the fact that one red reroll on every single shot you take the whole game is very strong, because red dice are notoriously fickle, and B, the ability to have the extra oomph when attacking squads can be a really big deal. So LTTs is great. What do you run it in? Well, as I'm sure I've showed this list so many times, this is one particular version of my Assault Frigate list that I've played at major tournaments. In this case, I have 2 ships that can take turbo lasers. And so this is a great comparison of what kind of ships you'd be taking it on. The role of the Assault Frigate in this fleet, A, is not to die, but B, is to support my squads. You'll notice Ruthless Strategist on there to help me win the squad war. I have other versions of this list that have Gallant Haven to help me win the squad war even better. But LTTs is great because I've got red dice in all my hull zones, so it's always nice for a good reroll there. But it's also very big for when the squad fight is happening, I can shoot 2 blue at medium range with a reroll from Tor and Far. I can also really help my squads by taking out a VIP, taking out a very dangerous squad that my opponent has, that particularly stuff with counter. A lot of the counter aces have scatters, or some of them I guess you get counter from Dengar, but that's beside the point. But 2 blue from the Assault Frigate with a reroll from Tor and Far, that's a pretty good chance of an accuracy. And if I get a couple hits and no accuracies, I can add 2 blue with LTTs. And that can really take the weight off my squads having to fight there. However, the MC-30 is a ship that I would not run LTTs on for a couple reasons. Number one, this particular one, the Torpedo Frigate, doesn't have any red dice. So I don't really get to reroll anything with LTTs, the first part of it. The second part of it is not as consequential because I only have the single blue, and so I'm probably not going to be spending as much time flakking. Like with the Assault Frigate, there are a lot of cases where if I have a enemy ship in range, but also a lot of enemy squads in arc, and I want to win the squad war, I sometimes just flak instead of shooting the ship because I can generally get better total damage out of that with double blue flak with rerolls. Versus the MC-30, most ways you play it, it's not going to be doing a whole ton of flakking, and when it is, that single blue is a bit harder to get the results you're looking for. So while I could see an argument for LTTs on the red dice version of the MC-30, I don't think that's a bad upgrade at all. There are definitely better upgrades for the Turbolaser slot for the blue dice MC-30, and that goes for several different ships. But for stuff like, just going through the Rebels, I'll just pull some ships up. Assault Frigates, LTTs is probably best in slot, unless you're doing something really specific. CR90, you probably wouldn't take it ever on the B. Actually, you can't. Duh. The A, TRCs is kind of stapled to most CR90s, especially if you get Jaina's Light. However, LTTs on Jaina's Light on a CR90 is getting more popular, and there's good reason for that. If you can't be obstructed, that single blue is going to hit whatever you want it to hit, and adding the 2 reds there is good. And while TRCs is good for spiking your damage and making it very consistent, a lot of times you don't have more than 1 blank red when you're shooting with a CR90 because your dice pools are so small, and so re-rolling 1 red is sometimes just enough. So I could see it getting more popular here. LTTs on a Hammerhead, I've seen it. A lot of people run them with slave turrets or spinals if you're crazy, or QBTs too, I guess. But LTTs is not bad, especially if you're running squadless and you are worried about the squadron matchup. Slapping LTTs on a bunch of Hammerheads could really help out. Like I said, the MC-30 Scout here with the red dice, I think LTTs is a lot more relevant on this ship than it is on the MC-30. I still really like H9s on both versions of the MC-30 just to nuke stuff, or XI7s if that's what you feel like you need. But LTTs, there's definitely an argument here. LTTs on the MC-75 Armored Cruiser, I think that's close to best in slot unless you're going to take either H9s or XI7s for something specific. MC-80, this is another great ship for LTTs because you've got the double blue flak. You can kind of do what my Assault Frigate does here. This is also a ship that if you don't have to take leading shots and you feel like you can just get away with 1 reroll on LTTs, it frees up that ion slot for something like PDICs. So LTTs, I like it on both of these. LTTs are fantastic on both versions of the Liberty. I am partial to the Spinal Armament XI7 combo, but LTTs is also great. It's especially nice because you have the 2 turbo laser slots, and so LTTs is just kind of a nice extra thing you can have along with another turbo laser like Spinals or XI7s. So great on there. Great on the Nebulon, particularly on the escort frigate. Again, some people run Spinals or Slaved here, but LTTs is a very, very good upgrade on here as well. And then Starhawk, I would also say it's very good on. The Starhawk, both versions have double flak, and in fact, the Mark II has red flak, so you're kind of getting double duty from your LTTs at that point. So very popular on there as well. And the same logic goes for the rest of the factions. LTTs is great on really anything with red dice that doesn't specifically want a different turbo laser. And it's particularly good on double flak ships because you can, especially double blue flag ships in my opinion, or single red flag ships like the Munificent. I mean, LTTs should be just stapled to every Munificent in my opinion. There's not a whole lot of justification in my mind for not running LTTs on a Munificent because you've got the red flak and you're rolling lots of red dice anyway, but that's just me. But I won't keep you guys too much longer here. LTTs is a fantastic upgrade. There is a very good reason, as I have hopefully described here, why it is so ubiquitous. If you are building fleets and you're running turbo lasers that you're just putting them on there to put them on there and you don't have a specific reason for them, I would give LTTs a try. There are situations where you're going to want, H9s or XI7s. Granted, I don't think those are quite as good as H9s in the current meta. I think accuracies are very strong right now. There's very rarely an argument for QBTs over LTTs. One, it's 2 points cheaper if that really matters for your particular list. Sometimes ships want that extra blue, but I still think LTTs is probably better. And the other turbo laser upgrades, I mean, TRCs can only go on specific ships that have evades, and even then, there's an argument for LTTs. Trying to think if there's any other relevant ones. Spinals and enhanced armament are kind of overcosted, so LTTs is kind of better than both of those. So there's, like I said at the top, not a whole lot of reason not to take LTTs unless you have a very specific reason to take something else. But that's all I've got for today. If this gets good reception, if you guys like this, let me know, and I can do more of these. I've got ideas to do this on like PDICs or on Salvo Tech, or maybe some of the black crits. Happy to do it on any of those if there is demand. One other thing I want to do for those of you who made it to the end of the video, I would love to start doing some list reviews. And so if you have any lists that you would like me to take a look at, kind of break down if maybe you've been working on something and you want a second opinion on it, or you're super proud of a list and you'd like to show it off, or you're building a list and you need help with what to put where, go ahead and shoot me that and Discord would probably be the best place. I'm in both the Armada Discords. You just search my name and then send me a DM. Or feel free to comment the list onto this video here. A Ryan Kingston link is preferable just because it's smaller, but if you need to type the whole thing out or copy-paste something, that's totally fine. But I would love to start doing some community list reviews here. So if you are interested in that, go ahead and send those my way. But thanks very much for watching, guys. Have a great rest of your day. I'll catch you later.